Good morning. My name is Kai Keith, and I have the ultimate honor and incredibly daunting task of introducing the Meghan Aslin. Most of you know her as the amazing editor-in-chief of Tatler, but I have the privilege of knowing her as one of my closest friends. I've known Meghan since the 6th grade, and let me tell you, Meghan is the type of person you want on your team. She is kind even when she doesn't need to be. She's funny in sometimes the worst moments, and she will not hesitate to tell you what you need to hear, even when you definitely don't want to hear it. Meghan is a genuine gift to all who know her, and I and the class of 22 are incredibly lucky to have gotten to grow up alongside her. Meghan, we cannot wait to see what the future holds for you, and we cannot wait to hear what wise words you have to share today. So here she is, Meghan Elizabeth Aslin.
My favorite work days at High Ground News were ride-along days with the Marlboro Man. One Friday, Cole Bradley shuffled into the driver's seat and began his usual rant about broken appliances at home that still haven't been seen by the plumber. I met his mood with the usual affectionate sarcasm, eventually proposing fast food before the drive. He agreed like always, and after sipping down his morning with a large Coke, Cole slipped the car into drive and eased into today's lecture. I listened to each of his words and tried to memorize any unfamiliar passing street signs. On ride-along days, I could fill pages and pages in my notebook. These were weekly occasions where Cole and I would break up our editing and writing with drives. On these, he would teach me about Memphis. I learned about my city's housing market, demographics, community development, employment rates, etc. Behind every conversation, though, played the Dolly Parton Sirius XM station. During about half of the ride-along days, we would stop to meet Cole's friends in the community who worked at a community center here or owned a business there. On this day, Cole drove his black Honda into the parking lot of Evansky Big and Tall clothing store at the intersection of Airways Boulevard and Park Avenue, which I later learned was being used as a makeshift homeless shelter. After nonchalantly straddling a parking line, Cole hopped out of the car and left the ignition running. The door was ajar, and the car was running for the entire visit. I always admired him for these little acts, as I believe they depict his large heart deep down. Sometimes I still ponder them, wondering if they were intentional or simply habitual, although the wisdom and experience that Cole carries himself with makes me guess intentional. Cole is a dark-haired, transgender man standing just above 6 feet, and as I remembered the tattoos that covered almost every inch of his bulky arms, I soothed my own conscience, knowing that his "don't mess with me" look would likely prevent any situation of possible danger. Plus, to my knowledge, we were only there for a quick chat. I walked around back with an old Nikon camera to where a community garden stood. Half watching my step and half watching Cole shake the shelter manager's hand, I fumbled the cap off the camera with my fingers to photograph some vegetable beds. I walked back toward the parking lot with some shots of tomatoes, which were backlit by a newly finished mural reading "Celebrating 25 Years." As I walked back, I noticed a line of 4 skinny men standing against the building and joining into conversation with Cole and the manager. I smiled at each of them and shook their hands as I introduced myself. After a few minutes of talk, Cole announced that we should be off, so I thanked the men for their time and walked back to the black Honda. Despite my genuine smile and true interest in the men, there was a discomfort, or rather guilt, that I carried in each step of my Nikes. I removed my purse, which I had not realized that I had positioned across my body, and caught a glimpse of a third man approaching the car. My stomach dropped as I realized that I didn't have any cash on me, and the noise of Cole's frantic pocket slapping for his wallet indicated the same for him. The man asked, "Excuse me, sir, you got any cash?" To which Cole responded, "No, sir, I'm sorry. Is there anything you need? There's a store across the way, and I'm more than happy to run across and grab you something." The third man said, "I just need a cigarette." Without any hesitation at all, Cole reached into the middle compartment of his car and pulled out a box of Marlboro cigarettes and a lighter. He handed one to the third man, lit it, and then did the same for himself. For the next 5 minutes, the 2 men talked, enjoying their cigarettes as if they have not just met. Cole shook the man's hand and returned to the car. As soon as the door shut, he apologized for the time, but I quickly laughed off the unnecessary apology and reassured him that everything was okay. Without any predetermined judgment as to what had brought this particular man to stand before him and ask for a cigarette, Cole responded to the human being in front of him with love and empathy. I hold this story close to my heart as a reminder to be swift with love and to make haste to be kind. I know it sounds a tad corny, but I want you all to think about the people sitting around you. They could be someone from your history or math class, or even just someone you smile to and wave at in the halls. Or it could even just be a lifelong best friend. We see these people almost every single day, but let me tell you a secret. No matter how well you know someone, you will never be able to see what goes on behind closed doors. For example, I don't see the daily pockets of traffic that you hit on your commute that have refined your patience. And from my limited experience, life is certainly not black and white. It is completely and utterly complex. And amongst all of life's complexities, we lose hindsight on what ties us together, our own humanity. So I urge us to fight the human instinct of selfishness and to go forward leading with empathy. We need to care and listen for one another because there's really not much else we can do. To my beautiful class of 22, you truly are the goofiest group of individuals I have ever met. I am so beyond grateful for the community we have built and found within our grade. Thank you for sharing your stories with me and for showing me empathy even in the hardest of times. It has been such a privilege to learn from each of you. Thank you.